Have you ever felt that whisper in your soul calling you to something more, but all the things spinning around in your mind have kept you stuck? Well, what if I told you that choosing excellence could be both easier and more adventurous than you could ever imagine? I am Chelsea DeBruin-Colbert, your host of All Things Excellence. I'm a soul catalyst for excellence who leapt off that corporate cliff and left small town Iowa farm life in my 20s to follow my calling, helping women come home to themselves by anchoring into who they're designed to be. I create sacred containers where women rediscover their truth, design their dream life, and transform those whispers into action. Now you can find me running my business from the soccer sidelines as a coach's wife, hiking my favorite Arizona mountain, or back in Iowa with my family, or on an adventure chasing my next sunrise, hot cup of coffee and journal in hand. Through intimate conversations about the stories, the traumas, and the transformations behind choosing excellence, we're creating a collective healing journey together. I believe in diving deep into personality designs, experimenting boldly, and learning life's greatest lessons through our beautiful chaos. Every week, my guests and I are going to rip down the curtains so you can see behind the scenes of real transformation as we explore what excellence actually looks like. Not just the highlight reel, but that messy middle where the magic happens. Whether you're seeking inspiration to take that leap or already on your journey and craving connection, this is your invitation to join us. So grab your coffee, settle in, and get ready to discover just how close you are to the life your soul is calling you to create. This is All Things Excellence. Well, hello, All Things Excellence fam. Today, I am bringing you one of my favorite things to talk about. I talk about this to different organizations. I've talked about this to my team for over 15 years in direct sales. And honestly, guys, this is something that I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about today just because of my mom's career. My mom has had over a 40-year career in direct sales. So I grew up in this home that was all about dreaming, vision casting. They would say it's either a time management issue. You need to learn how to manage your time better, learn how to manage your emotions, or learn how to manage your money, or skill management, time management, emotional management, or money management. And if one of those areas of your life was messed up, then that was probably the reason that you weren't getting where you wanted to go. And so growing up around that made me the person that I am, who is very addicted to growth. Now, again, you guys have heard me say this time and time again about the Enneagram, that your childhood does not dictate your Enneagram, but your Enneagram dictates how you experience your childhood. And I think this is a really great example of this. I'm an Enneagram 8 and I have an Enneagram 3 and 6 for brothers. And they are not as obsessed with personal growth as I am. I think, they're both really successful business owners. The one has definitely, I've seen him over the last 2 years hire in people to help him see things differently. And so often I want to go, is this because you listen to we listen to every type of pump it up, you can do it, Zig Ziglar, um, Tony Robbins type of cassette tapes that you possibly could get your hands on when we were growing up as kids. And we had this rule that as my mom was driving all over town, making deliveries, driving all over our area of the state of Iowa, honestly, making these deliveries, if we were really, really good, then we would get to rent a movie, get a treat, maybe get a Happy Meal back in the day when they weren't so bad. And, but we had to listen to the personal growth stuff. And then we would get to listen to whatever fun music we wanted to listen to on the way home from that day of deliveries. I also saw a reel the other day saying how, are we letting our kids be confident? Are we letting our kids take care of themselves? We got to stop doing everything for them. And the example in this reel was about the woman having her kid run into Chick-fil-A and run back out with the Chick-fil-A. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe this is the secret sauce. I always wonder, like, how did my parents end up with three wildly driven children who are all entrepreneurs, And I'm like, maybe it was that. Maybe it was our mom's direct sales business. We're like 4 or 5 years old, and she's in the car. We're going from door to door to door because she's got a million deliveries, all over the place. And she's handing us the next bag and telling us to run up to the door. You got to ring the doorbell. You got to greet the person, talk to them for a minute, and then run back to the car. So we had no choice. We had no choice but to have really great communication skills. And, in one way or another, we're all kind of in sales. So here we are. But throughout all of those things that I learned in my lifetime growing up around wildly successful, confident women, I, in my own brain, constructed that there are what I would refer to as these four pillars of time management, like these four pillars that cause you to really have it together with your time management. And it is such a different view than I think most people would think. So we have this, I would call it the four pillars of alignment, like living an aligned life. But unfortunately, we have this saying in the marketing world: give them what they want, and then you can give them what they need. And for some reason, most of y'all do not care about learning how to live an aligned life. But if I tell you, let me tell you how to have less chaos. Let me how to tell you how to have less uncertainty. Let me tell you how to not feel so frazzled. Let me tell you how to manage your time better. You're like, yes, please. I want that. Aligned life? I don't have time for that. Manage my time better, manage my chaos better, manage my uncertainty better, manage the roller coaster. Y'all really love to react to those words. So I'm going to give you what you want. I'm going to give you the first pillar of time management today, but then I'm going to give you what you need, because you're going to be like, what does this have to do with time management? Stick with me on this one. Okay. Stick with me on this one. So, in working with my clients, I always lead with what's called the transformation. I lead with the transformation, and I ground the transformation in form. So basically saying, people come to me because they want the form. They're like, I want you to help me make a better schedule. I want you to help me create tools and sheets and check boxes. Like, I'm really good. I happen to be very, very good with graphic design, and creating custom daily check sheets for people is something that I've been doing over the last 13 years. I started doing it for myself 13 years ago, quadrupled my business in 9 months, got a reputation for it. Next thing I know, I'm like designing these custom workbooks for people all over the place. And what I found was, I didn't know at the time, but now I know, working with my copywriter, that what I was doing was really, people were noticing the transformation. They were going, what just happened to her? She quadrupled her business in 9 months, which, in the industry that I was in, we're just gonna say I got a car, and it was a Cadillac, and it was pink, over like what looked like overnight. And it's because I made this decision to put a lot of structure, but like fluid structure, into my life. And so externally, people were seeing this. They were seeing this transformation. Like, whoa, whoa, how did she go from this small town girl that like lost her post-college job to this girl living in Dallas, driving this car, having a successful career? So they witnessed the transformation, and they came to me and said, what did you do? And I backed that transformation up and said, well, I started doing this form. This was the structure that I created. And I've been teaching that structure, this specific structure, ever since. But what I can tell y'all is, I always start with, okay, but where are we going? I have some friends, my friends that own the wellness center, and for the past few months, I've been helping them with their graphics. Now, I am absolutely positively not taking any clients for graphic design. Please know, I've been doing it since I was a kid. I'm actually trained for it, went to school. No, thank you. Not my baby. I don't want to do it. But I love them, and they needed somebody in transition of finding somebody. So I said, oh my gosh, let me do it. I'll just do it and help y'all. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. Well, the first day that I sat there with them, and I didn't even know what I was doing really until my copywriter explained this to me. I said, okay, so where are we going? What are the goals? And I could not even make the graphics for their business without knowing, okay, but where are we going? Like, where are we going? What are our thoughts? What are the goals of the business? Where are we taking this? Sometimes it's something like, I sit down with a mom, and she's a mom. She's got 3 kids, and her main, I'm saying she's not working, meaning she's not working outside of the home. I completely understand. She's giving 168 hours of her soul and everything that she does to, being a professional taxi driver for these children. But I'm just saying that. And so she comes to me and says, I am so sick of, I want to have less takeout. I want more structure. I want to feel less run ragged. I want to feel more rested. And all of those things come back to how do I manage my time better? What tools do you have available for me? And we talk about her life. We talk about what's going on in her life. So with both of those situations with my clients, it's sitting down and getting them to do this giant brain dump with their time and to see where are you spending all of your time currently, figuring that out. But then from there, we start diving into the form, but I noticed I kept hitting these roadblocks with people where I would give them this form, and then all of a sudden, they have this new form, they have this new structure, they have these new tools, and they're not even using them. And it was so frustrating to me. And what I discovered within this was the first pillar of time management. And the first pillar of time management, in my opinion, is mindset. And you go, what does mindset have to do with time management? And I say it's everything. I don't even know if you call it a pillar. It's almost like the foundation. Like if we're building a house of a greater life where you've got more peace, you're more calm, you're not living off of takeout because you're living in reactionary mode. Nothing makes me crazier than people who live on my husband. Oh my gosh, y'all. He has a reactionary person in his life and we're constantly like, "Oh my gosh, this like living from one fire to the next, one moment to the next. Like there's such a better way to live. And I know that so many people are hungry for that. But I'm telling you, it has to start with mindset because it's what are the thoughts that you have around the habits? How were you programmed to view time? So we're going to talk about that. So mindset around time comes from a lot of places. It can come from how we were raised, right? Like, what did we experience from our parents as far as time goes? Did you experience from your parents that one of your parents was always late and that was the parent that you were around? Did you experience that 30 minutes early, 15 minutes early is on time, and arriving, when the party starts means you're late? So, growing up in Iowa, when I would do my direct sales business, I would arrive to every single party at least 30 minutes before because all the guests would start arriving 20 minutes before. And I wanted to be at least a little bit set up before they came. Then I moved to Dallas, and the most interesting thing happened. People don't actually start arriving. Like if the party's at 6, if you live in Iowa, you're going to be arriving at 5. Like if somebody says, come to my house for a party at 6, you start coming at 5:40. And 5:45 is on time. And any later than that, you're late. But you moved to Dallas, you moved to that like southern influence, and all of a sudden the party that started at 6:30, as long as you're there by 6:30, you're on time. Now we live in Arizona, and I would say it's kind of the same. It's in this range. It's not as crazy as Dallas. Dallas has a little bit more traffic. And so, whether it was traffic or not, you'd be like, traffic. It was really because you just spent too much time in the bathroom on your hair, or you stopped on the way and you got Starbucks. I mean, whatever it is. And it's almost, I think my mom would say, it sounds like a lack of respect. But honestly, it's not really, respect has nothing to do with it. It really was a geographical thing where in the Midwest, East Coast, South, here we are over in Arizona on the Southwest, the way we view time is so different. So, what is your mindset around time? What does that look like? I was raised with a mentor who said, timeliness is godliness. And so, when I'm late to an appointment, it kind of makes me cringe at myself, but I'm working at it because it is really like a never ending thing for me. Also, something that I will tell you is like time for me, I've always had to work on it because I always feel like I can squeeze one more thing out of this time block. I'm always trying to jam more into an hour than is actually possible. And I don't even know. Like, it's something I've explored about myself. Is it like I'm trying to be an overachiever? You know what I mean? Like, and more, it's usually because I'm over promising to people what I'm actually capable of. Because as an Enneagram 8, I feel like it's my job to hold up all the plates of the world. And I also have a little bit of that wing 7, which makes me a lot of FOMO. And you know what I mean? Like today, for an example, we had a softball game that I really wanted to get to. I didn't want to miss the girls' game. I knew it was going to be so good. We do not have kids, but my husband works as the athletics manager at a school. And so we joke that we have 900 kids. We get them snacks and everything. It's a really good time. We know their names, we know their lives, we know their dating history. We love it. We feel so blessed that we get to be a part of their life. And so I was trying to like cram a full day into being able to leave and run out the door at 3 o'clock. So that way I could do that, which is why this I'm currently recording this episode after said softball game, because I made this decision that I would rather record an episode pretty late in the day and let it be on time to my assistant and not make it last minute for her, so I could be at that game. But that's me. I'm always trying to squeeze more juice out of the berries of life. And so that's a thing. That's like a mindset that I have around time, right? Maybe it's a culture. Maybe your mindset around time is the culture of a previous job or a current job or career. I know when I had my very first, I had my internship in college, and I worked for the company that I had my very first job for. But as an intern, I worked in the marketing department. Well, if you know anything about creatives, we would arrive anytime between, as long as you got there by like 9:15, 9:20, you're good to go. Because as creatives, we respect the creative process, that we're slower in the morning people. And while everybody else is leaving the office at 4, we're probably grinding more to like 5 or 6 because we hit that creative flow post lunch, right? So I was in the department where the culture of the job was very much not arriving until like 9ish. And then in the same company, I go to a completely different building and I get this job, and such a poor life choice. I know we've talked about this before on here. There's a lot of poor life choices that I made in this situation. But what I didn't know that was going to happen was when I went over to this different department, I was going to be working with a woman who had an accounting degree. Now, I don't know if you know much about the difference in somebody that has a marketing degree and somebody that has an accounting degree, but they view time very differently. So I went from, kind of like get here like 9ish, and then we walk over together as a department and we get our coffee from the local cute coffee shop, to if you're not there by 7:30, even though you're supposed to be there by 8, then you're already late. And if you're not staying until like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, then who are you? You must just be like lazy and worthless. And so the woman that I worked with in that, not really fun position, the accounting major lady, was very much, she was that person who had low self-esteem and she had to prove her worth, right? So this might be another thing with time management. Do you find yourself working harder than the job actually requires you to work, putting in way more hours? Is that because you're trying to get somewhere, or are you trying to show that you're grinding, to show that you're valuable, to show that you're worthy, right? So you've got to think about, what is the culture of your current job, maybe a previous job? Was it a parent? Was it a geographical area that you were raised? Are you type A? Are you always trying to do one more thing? Maybe some people are nonconformists. They're the rebels, right? Like, so Gretchen Rubin has the 4 tendencies. It's a book, it's a quiz, whatever. You can do either one of them. I think the quiz is free online. The 4 tendencies. I think it's literally the 4 tendencies, but it's by Gretchen Rubin. And there's like obligers and upholders, and then there's questioners, and then there's rebels. I am personally a questioner with rebel tendencies. So when somebody says to me, this is how it has to be done, I will say, but like, why? And I will question it. And depending on how they answer, I will decide, okay, that's fair. And I will uphold the rule that they told me was a rule, or I will rebel because the rule is so stupid, or have no respect for that person, and I will do completely the opposite. So that could be another thing. Like maybe you're being a rebel in this area and you're fighting the idea of structure, fighting the idea of conformity, of doing what somebody tells you need to do in the way that you need to do it. Maybe you were raised by a mom who said you have to be 15 minutes early everywhere you go. And so now, sticking it to her in true rebel fashion, you're 15 minutes late every single where you go. Maybe you have an anxious personality and you are that 2 hours before a flight person. Our family was just in town this last week, and the daughter who I was her nanny, I am her yaya still. She still calls me yaya. I noticed, she flew in and out with her boyfriend's family, and I noticed that they got to the physical airport like inside with their bags checked over 2 hours before the flight. And all I could think was like, why are you doing this? I'm kind of like, if I have a bag that I need to check, I need to toss it at him about 48 minutes before, and then make my way through security and pretty much all but, grab, like, hit the restroom, grab a water, and walk right on the plane. Like, that's my kind of style, because I know that's all that you need. But maybe you have that anxious personality where you need to be significantly early. Maybe you think you can squeeze more in than you can, again, like me. Maybe you need to be seen as valuable. Maybe you're that person, again, that you try to overpack time so you can look really busy so people can think that you're worthy. Ask yourself, where did these things come from? What is my relationship with time? And ask yourself, where did this come from? Where did these habits come from? Um, I think another thing is looking at, are you the time that you're spending doing these things, because sometimes it's we're doing it for our job, but sometimes we're spending a lot of time doing things that we don't need to be doing, and we're doing that unpaid life labor, and we are undermining our value. So maybe it is a worthiness issue, maybe it is a value issue. So I want you to ask yourself, what who is my ideal self when it comes to time management? Who is my ideal self? What kind of energy does she bring when she enters the space? Because here's the deal, your relationship with time, how you view time management, your mindset around time management and how you see time dictates the energy that you bring when you show up to a space. Are you that woman that runs in hot and disheveled everywhere? You're looking ragged, right? Like ran hard. I think my mom would always say, like, ran hard and put away wet. Do you walk in every space just calm and cool as a cucumber? Do you walk in just looking, are you that person that just has to look so busy? Like they've got so many things to do. There's a person my husband works with, and I will just say they walk around all the time looking down on their cell phone, looking like they're texting a million miles an hour and trying to look so busy. And I just always want to say, like, you can hire me to work on your self-worth so you don't have to look like you're busy, because I know you're not doing anything. You know what I mean? But that is a thing. Like it's not an uncommon thing. Like I can spot it from a mile away because it is a common thing that I see people do. And I think because I am in this job where, I as a coach, my bazillion years with thousands, training thousands of women in the direct sales industry, getting to watch my husband work at a school, the amount of new people that I am around at a very wild, rapid rate is insane. And so I'm constantly getting to study people's behavior and getting to pick up their worthiness issues. And I do think that we have a lot of this I've got to look busy thing. I think the I've got to look busy is really just a reflection of, I need to look valuable. I need to look worthy. I need to look competent, right? And I think that you could look at your Enneagram, decide your Enneagram type, and that could help you figure out a little bit of your relationship with your mindset around time. Which again, there's tests that you can take. They absolutely suck. Like most people are honestly, 67% of people test incorrectly. I'm going to say that until I'm blue in the face. So we can do a typing session if you're interested. You can go to my website, chelseadbc.com. Da da da. Of course, you've heard this a million times. But and we can figure out your Enneagram type. But I do think your Enneagram type, because, while a one is trying to be perfect, a two is just trying to be helpful, to be needed, a three is trying to show the appearance that they're important, right? Because they have to show this facade of success. I don't know if I can do a four off the top of my head. A five is trying to just look competent. A seven, oh, a seven, they're all about FOMO and joy and being included in all the things. Um, an eight would want to look, I mean, an eight's probably going to want to look busy so you don't bother them, because they probably don't want you to talk to them. And a nine, you're probably not going to really know they're there. They're probably going to try and avoid you. They're maybe, a nine might arrive right when the party is starting, because then they're less likely to have to do small talk that they absolutely positively don't want to do. But a one would have actually a lot of opinions about the time that people should arrive to an event. So thinking about that, I want you to think about that again. Think about your ideal self. Who is she? What energy does she bring? How do you want to arrive, right? And that's when we start talking about the transformation of the mindset. So if you can be honest with yourself that maybe you are always running into every space just, hot, unhinged, and disheveled, but and you're bringing that energy into the space of the people you're going into, but you would love to enter that space looking calm, looking ready, bringing peace, like bringing that assurance to the people that are disheveled. With my husband as an athletic manager, every day is an event and every day is managing a bunch of logistics of events, right? He literally helps manage the all of the sporting events at the school. And I love it when people that he does life with there around this acts like a million events going on at once is just like this thing. They get all like, oh my God, oh my God about it. And, I mean, I've grown up like my life has been one never ending constant event. Um, and so I love being able to show up and bring the peace and bring the calm and bring the whatever you need. I've got it. It's okay. We've got this. You've got that. It's all going to be good no matter what's happening. And so for me personally, my ideal self around time management, I always strive to bring that energy into every space and to bring that mindset of we're good, we've got this, we're prepared, we know what we're doing. So think about think about your thoughts around time. Think about how much of it you have. Think about the thoughts that you have around time that are no longer serving you. So when you think about a thought around time that is no longer serving you, so I'll tell y'all one thing. I think that this is the thing I've been working on, and that I will, vulnerability hangover with you all today, that I recently created a new truth statement on a few months back. Was one of the places that it was really bad for me with time management is that I would constantly overextend myself to people. And that came from a space of having a mentor that was just so bent on not allowing me into spaces that I had absolutely earned. Now, we could go into all the reasons why she has a ton of insecurity and doesn't like people to be more successful than her, whatever, for a different day. But because of that, because of her need to keep me small, right? Because of her need to be the shiniest object in the room, I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm a pretty shiny object. And not only did I come out of the womb as just a shiny object, like taking up all the light and the space in the room, I also was raised by two parents who saw the greatness inside of me and did absolutely everything they could to help it be even greater. I'm 3, 4 years old and I'm singing in front of everybody in a large church that we go to. I'm not very old as a kid, and my mom is, I'm like 5 years old and I'm performing on a stage in front of a ton of people with the piano. I'm on the theater stage. I'm doing all these different things. I'm speaking at my mom's, training meetings. I'm doing all of these things because my parents saw, woo, she came out of the womb like sparkly and shining, as like bright as a star, and we're always going to do whatever it takes to put her in places that help her grow her presentation skills, her confidence skills. We just know that she's meant to use these someday, right? So sometimes when you're like that, you enter into different spaces in life where other people are intimidated by that. They're intimidated for various reasons, which don't matter, but regardless, I was. And so what I found was, in order to get into the spaces that I wanted to get in, to learn the things I wanted to learn, to be able to get to the place in my career where I wanted to get to, I needed to be a little less shiny and charismatic and a lot more resourceful. Now, basically saying my Enneagram 8, who was here to make big things happen, said, okay, be less of myself. And I'm stressed, so I'm going to go look like that 5. So when an Enneagram 8 is stressed, they go to the 5. They become very resourceful, very competent. They are the keeper of all of the knowledge and all of the things that might help anyone be able to live their life better. And so that's what I did. I started viewing all of my time as being bottomless for everyone else except myself, that I've got to be the most resourceful and the most competent to be able to get into the rooms that I want to get into so I can eventually get to where I wanted to go in my career. So I had to create a new truth statement that, basically around the thoughts of, I used to believe that in order to get into the room, I had to be the most resourceful and give all of my time away for free. So there's this thing called creating a new truth statement. And in order to do that, right, we don't just jump to affirmations. You don't just like create affirmations out of nowhere and be like, oh, I used to believe that I had to be the most resourceful and give all my time away for free. And now I don't have to do that. So now I say, the reverse of that, but that's not actually how it works. You actually have to create this new truth statement that honors your old thought, that honors your old way that you're most likely still doing, which is why in order to kill off the old brain cells and rewire the new brain cells, which is 100% possible, go watch anything Dr. Caroline Leaf, scientifically proven, also biblically proven, like it's all there. It's in the science, it's in the Bible, it's all the places. Um, you have to acknowledge that old thought. And so it's, I used to believe that. What did you used to believe? And for me, it was, I used to believe that I had to be wildly resourceful and give all of my time away for free in order to get into the rooms that I wanted to get into. And then the next key phrase is, and then one day I woke up and realized that is a big, huge lie. So I used to believe that, insert, what did you used to believe? That you technically still believe. And then you write in, and then one day I woke up and realized that is a big, huge lie because, and in there you can fill in the because. The because you can say because God's word says, because my personality design says. You can use whatever you need to use that makes you feel good. And so that's when you start putting in the, because God's word says, or because my personality style says, whatever feels good to you that counteracts that thought. And then you write, and because that is true, because that is true. And for me, it's like, I honor and respect my time. I show up in places where I am, seen and acknowledged for my gifts, and I am compensated well. Because that was my biggest thing. I actually realized it from a financial standpoint because I couldn't figure out why I was so wildly intelligent and competent and the hardest worker in the room, but yet I wasn't getting compensated financially for it. And I realized it's because I created this mindset that I had to be the most resourceful person in the room and give myself away for free in order to get in the room that I wanted to get to be able to learn what I wanted to get to learn where I wanted to go. And what that looked like was having to do my real job all the time and then be this everything for this other person. And so I never had enough time. I was always exhausted. I was always frustrated. I was always bitter. And I think anybody that knew me 8 years ago that didn't know what was really going on, they would say to you, oh my gosh, she was like bitter and short tempered and angry and just crass and sassy and unhinged. And I could go for days and days and days. But that's really what this thing was embedded in. But at the core of it, it really was my mindset around how I was spending my time. Right? So you can see where using this, creating a new truth statement, this is something that I constantly do with my clients when we're looking at time, when we're looking at, I want to get from A to B, right? They have this place in their life they want to go. It might be with their career. It might be with the vision of what they have for their family life, how they're leading their family. It might be how they're taking care of their health. Like I have a client right now, we're working on just creating more form to help her build the physical body that she wants to build so she can be the mom with all the energy that she wants to be. And so this is the first of the four pillars. So we go through this, we go figure out what is your mindset around time? What is your relationship with time? Then we move into your core values and vision. Core values, what is most important to you in life? And I will tell you, for Kobe and I, it is things like some of our top core values are, one of them is winning. It is very important to us that we are winning, but it's also important that we are having fun. It is important that we are getting to have adventures. Obviously, family is in the top of our core values. And so when you look at your core values, I love going through this core value exercise with clients because not only does it help you increase your time management, because when your yeses are planned, your nos are easy, right? When your yeses are planned, your nos are easy. When you know what you value, you know what you're saying yes to. It's easy to say no to the things that don't align with your values. We will take everything and we'll run it through that, right? Like the Hawaii trip was such a great example. When I, on a Wednesday bought tickets to fly to Hawaii 36 hours later and see my brother and sister-in-law. When it comes to my siblings, pretty much it's always yes. Like it would be very hard to say no. Adam, my baby brother, would argue with me right now on this because somehow he always calls me when I'm like dead in the middle of something that I really truly cannot answer the phone. And then I have to say, like, I'll call you back in 3 minutes. But y'all, I've honestly been in the middle of an appointment with somebody I've never met, and I will answer his phone call and I'll say, I'm so sorry. I need you to give me a second. I will answer his phone call because I know how important it is to him. And I value the relationships with my siblings above almost every other thing. Um, because I value the relationship with them so much is also why I live across the country, because I think for us, that's just one of the keys to keeping it great. So we get into your core values. We figure out what is that vision that you want for your life. We go over the 8 areas of growth. We move into your stretch goals. We find metrics around that. And then when we figure out what do you want out of life? Like, what is your ideal life? What does that ideal life look like? What goals do you want to go after? That's when we dive into the time management tools, because when all of that stuff starts coming up, I can see the holes. I can see the pitfalls. I can see your limitations, and I can see how to turn your limitations into opportunities very specifically for you. So that's where this becomes such a custom experience in our Clarity Catalyst 7-day programs, 30-day programs, and 90-day programs. That you, if you're on my email list, you definitely got an email about yesterday about the new 7-day, 30-day, and 90-day programs. But also, we have our intro calls. We have our intro Clarity Catalyst calls where you get to jump on, and I love them because it's 30 minutes, you and me, and you just throwing up and going. I sometimes it's you know where you want to go, but you don't know how to get there. And sometimes it's I can't even figure out where I want to go because there's just so much going on where I'm at right now. And we get to tackle those things. We get to talk about the transformation that you want to see in your life. We get to figure out what that transformation is, or we get to talk about the transformation that you want to have. And then we go along and we ground that transformation you hope to have in form, working through some of these various exercises. So, I cannot wait to bring some of the other pieces of the four pillars of time management / alignment, whatever y'all want to call it, right? I'll give you what you want. You just want to know how to manage your time better. You want to know how to have less chaos. And then I'm going to give you what you need, which is really getting down and dirty on your mindset, your core values, your vision, your stretch goals, and then we'll give you those tools. We will ground you in those tools that are going to show you and come alongside and aid you into having a more peaceful life. Now, I do want you to know a lot of these tools that I'm talking about today, they're for free, like totally for free on my website. Jump on my website, chelseadbc.com. Grab the tools, download them, have a ton of fun. There is even a free webinar somewhere on my website. This is what I have Carline for. I probably should have looked at that before. I didn't even think about it, but it's on there. It's not a busy website. You can find it. Look around. There's a video on there where we go over this stuff and we talk about some of the tools and how to use them. So jump on there, experience that. And of course, as always, you and we can work on this together one-on-one, and I would love it. It is absolutely the reason God has me on this earth. I I love holding all the crazy, all the chaos, all the uncertainty, holding that for you, and then helping you create this beautiful structure and this beautiful form. Recently, my friend Robin, we go to coffee every few weeks, and I said to her, "Oh my gosh, I just love it. I love holding all the crazy for women. I love helping hold it all and helping them create structure and strategy to go live the life they want to live." And she says, "Oh my gosh, I hate it. I'm like allergic to it. I'm going to start sending you those people." And I said, "Well, I hate the maintenance phase. So I'll get them good and settled and then I will send them over to you." But isn't it a great life when we know what we were created for, when we know exactly what God designed us for, exactly why He has us on this earth, which yet another thing I love helping women figure out. So I hope you have enjoyed today. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us the rating thing. You can go and I think it's important. My assistant always, Carlin, reminds me that I'm supposed to do things like that. Tell you all, if you do enjoy this, make sure you subscribe. It matters. Make sure you go and hit some stars and give us a little review about what you're enjoying. But also, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. We've got those unscripted episodes where I anonymously answer your coaching questions for free. We want to hear from you. So make sure you go to chelseadbc.com/unscripted, where you can drop your questions in and we will let you know when your episode is featured. So thank you again for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Just stay excellent.